Today, senators reviewed the FBI report on the allegations against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, despite the fact that the FBI didn't actually conduct a serious investigation. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. When the allegations against Kavanaugh first surfaced, Trump's aides tried to restrain him, but to literally no one's surprise, that facade quickly unraveled. And in the last week or so, he's had one outburst after another.
If we brought George Washington here and we said, we have George Washington, the Democrats would vote against him. I'm a very famous person, unfortunately. This is so-and-so calling for... He took the call. Why is he taking a call from a Russian?
I'd like to turn to Judge Kavanaugh.
Do you have...
President,
excuse me. Go ahead, please.
Just to wrap up, can you promise
You know
to
what?
release
You've really
the
had
FBI's
enough.
report?
Hey, you've had enough. I'm not a drinker. I can honestly say I never had a beer in my life. I've never had alcohol. I've just, for whatever reason. Can you imagine if I had?
No. I honestly can't. You already scream and yell and slur your words like a stumbling drum. Even the way you stand is the way a drunk guy would stand if he was trying to pretend he wasn't drunk. Okay, just that cool. Arm to your side. Puff out your chest. No one will notice you're swaying back and forth. Oh my God, I'm gonna puke. The president mocked and dismissed the allegations against Kavanaugh, so it's no wonder that the FBI investigation he requested wasn't actually a serious attempt to get at the truth. Today, for example, the FBI finally delivered its report, and if you're wondering how that's possible, it's because their investigation lasted less than a week. They delivered the report in under a week. I had to do a report on the Louisiana Purchase in 6th grade, and it took me a month. And I got a C. They didn't even interview Kavanaugh or Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. They really went over this thing with a no-toothed comb. And when they were investigating the other allegations against Kavanaugh, they made it clear they had no intention of actually talking to people who might have more information.
Deborah Ramirez, who talked to the FBI for 2 hours about her allegations of misconduct when they were at Yale. Ramirez's lawyer says his client provided a list of more than 20 witnesses who say they could corroborate her story. He says the FBI has not reached out to any of them.
Think about that. More than 20 people said they might have corroborating evidence, and the FBI talked to none of them. If the FBI worked like this on the X-Files, Mulder's landlord could have been an alien, and he never would have noticed. In fact, people who said they could corroborate the allegations against Kavanaugh actually tried to seek out the FBI themselves, and even then they were ignored. One person who told The New Yorker I can corroborate Debbie's account reached out to the Bureau last weekend but did not hear back. Frustrated, he submitted a statement through an FBI web portal. No one should ever have to log on to the FBI's web portal. You shouldn't have to contact the FBI the same way I pay my dentist. In fact, no one should ever have to log on to anything that's still called a web portal. Would you like to report a crime to the FBI? Begin by logging on to the information superhighway and popping in your AOL CD-ROM. This investigation was obviously a sham, and sure enough, when the report finally came in today, Republican senators like Jeff Flake and Orrin Hatch were quick to claim that there was nothing new in it.
The Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley saying there's nothing we didn't already know and that there was no hint of misconduct. Senator Jeff Flake says he has seen, quote, no additional corroborating information against Judge Kavanaugh.
No corroboration, no confirmation of any of these outrageous accusations that have been made against him.
We have found nothing, absolutely nothing to corroborate accusations against him.
That's because you didn't look for it. You guys are like treasure hunters who decided to call it quits before you flipped over the map. This entire process has been a deeply revealing look at Senate Republicans. Trump, of course, has always been unhinged, but Republicans in the Senate like to pretend they were all the stable, above-it-all statesmen who were just putting up with his antics to get their judges and tax cuts. But over the last few weeks, many of them have lost their minds in Trumpian fashion. Just take South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Graham was once thought of as a Trump critic, but then during the Kavanaugh hearing, he exploded with rage.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process, you came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
He sounds like an outlaw gunslinger threatening to kill the Lone Ranger. But let's face it, if it came down to an Old West gunfight, Graham would be the guy hiding behind the pickle barrel with his fingers in his ears. He did the same thing yesterday when he was asked about the president viciously mocking Dr. Ford. This time, Graham was in front of an audience, and they booed him.
I don't like what the president said last night. I'm the first person to say, I want to hear from Dr. Ford. I thought she was handled respectfully. I thought Kavanaugh was treated like crap. Yeah, well, boo yourself.
Man, he's just fighting with the audience now. He's like the least threatening pro wrestler ever. My name's Lindsay, but you can call me the Southern Snake, and brother, I'm gonna bite your ankle. Well, boo right back at you. You're all a bunch of meanies. Graham has gone so far off the deep end that he even called for one of his colleagues, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, to apologize to Kavanaugh. You might remember these exchanges from the hearing last week in which a furious Kavanaugh tried to turn questions about his hard-drinking high school and college days back on the senators asking them.
I like beer.
haven't asked for that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one is
Senator, what do you like to
Judge.
drink?
So you're saying there's never been a case where you drank so much that you didn't remember what happened the night before or part of what happened?
That's you're asking about. Yeah, blackout. I don't know. Have you?
Could you answer the question, Judge? That's not happened. Is that your answer?
Yeah, and I'm curious if you have.
I have no drinking problem, Judge.
Yeah, nor do I.
Ugh. We all knew this head in college, right? The guy who would get pulled over and the cop would say, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And this guy would go, "Do you know how fast I was going?" And then 20 years later, you get a LinkedIn request from him, and he's the CEO of a dog poison company. The only way he could have looked crazier during that hearing is if he was wearing one of those beer guzzler helmets. Now, even Kavanaugh, as unhinged as he was, came back after the break and apologized to Klobuchar, who has written extensively about her father's alcoholism. And yet on Fox News this week, Graham said it was actually Klobuchar who owed Kavanaugh an apology.
Here's what I think. Amy Klobuchar should apologize to Judge Kavanaugh and his family for being part of a smear campaign I haven't seen in over 20 years in politics.
Excuse me, did you say a schmear campaign? Were you hungry when you did that interview? Did you just come from the deli? This is a schmear campaign. And as for Hillary, we should lock her up. I've had enough of her capers. Boo! Well, you didn't like my capers joke? But that clip is such a perfect microcosm of this entire ordeal. Entitled, powerful men think everyone else owes them an apology for having the audacity to hold them accountable for their actions. They think that being born to elite status in society means you earn that status, and they're furious at any attempt to take it away. That's why Trump keeps bringing up the fact that Kavanaugh went to Yale, although he doesn't always have his facts right.
You know, when he said that really what he was focused on was trying to be #1 in his class at Yale, to me that was so believable. I understand college very well, and I understand being #1 in your class, and I understand a lot of things. I think he was #1 in his class at Yale. He was #1 in his law school at Yale. He was, I believe, #1 at Yale. Is that a correct statement?
No, it's not. Yale College doesn't calculate class rank or standing, and neither does Yale Law School. And I have to say, as a favor, you should probably steer clear of asking, is that a correct statement, when you're talking. For one, we know you don't care what the answer is, and also it would really slow down the momentum at your rallies. We've accomplished more than any administration ever. Is that a correct statement? It's not? What about the one before it? Not that either? Have any of them been correct? Not one? What about when I said it's great to be in West Virginia? This is Mississippi? Also, can we go back to this for a second?
I understand college very well.
I understand college very well. Sounds like something Jack Black would say in a movie about a bunch of middle-aged dudes who try to join a frat. I understand college, and if we're gonna fit in, we have to go to parties and scream at the top of our lungs.
I like beer.
What we are witnessing right now is a cultural struggle over how power works. There's a set of privileged people who are accustomed to being insulated from the consequences of their actions, and they want to keep it that way. That's why they set up such a sham process. No one who behaves the way Kavanaugh behaved during his testimony should be on the Supreme Court. And if you vote for him, you should boo yourself. This has been A Closer Look.